Olympics. The USA women's team came through with a bronze medal. It was really about in the range that we were hoping for. This one was pretty special, and it's enormously special for well, before I say that, just have a look at the highlight.
Cedric, Spiff Cedric's away. Cedric, she's gonna take it all the way. Cedric for the USA.
It's also enormously special for the game in America. Now, this is the big question. Does this make a move? Does this push everything? Well, every year, like when the Olympics come, rugby's going to be, bam, just up a sea change. We're going to see so many. But what we found out, a little bit, right? Get some notoriety. That's cool. 2016, 2020, which was 2021. Okay, but the USA didn't do very well. And this year, the men's team didn't do very well. Men's team kind of did what we expected. I was hoping for like 6th. They got 8th. We got a little bit of chance to point to everybody and say, hey, Perry Baker is good and he's been good for years. It's nice. That's really cool. But that's not the big change maker. Winning a medal, that's a little bit different. Winning a medal in massively dramatic fashion when not a ton is going on. They can't even run the triathlon because the Seine is gross. Instead, we get this great play to win it out of nothing. Love it, right? I kind of hope the same thing happened with Canada beating Australia and getting a silver medal. How great is that for Canadian girls rugby and Canadian women's rugby? It's fantastic. Love it. But for the United States and women and girls rugby, and the players saying all the right things. They say, look, girls, you should try it. And I love when Alona Mar said, not only you should try rugby, but you should try other sports. She mentioned water polo, which is cool. But we're anecdotal evidence, some kind of viewable evidence that there actually is a switch. One, girls sending in notes saying, how do I get involved in rugby? It was mentioned on TV. Have a look at this. This is the YouTube video of the highlights from the game. And I want to compare that to the YouTube highlights of the women's gymnastics winning gold. Now, the difference is gymnastics is on all the time, talked about all the time, and they were expected to win gold. But just compare those numbers. So the USA highlight to win bronze in rugby that nobody's ever heard of, right? 550,000 views and 800 comments. And we can go through some of the comments. I tell you, most of the comments are things like, well, several of them were, she runs like Bo Jackson, which is cool, right? The other being, several being, I don't know anything about rugby. I don't know what's going on, but this was awesome, right? You can know this team has to go over there and they have to do something to score. You can figure that out within a few seconds, and they're losing and then they break through and score and win. That's pretty clear, right? It's not that hard to figure out that part of it. Love it. So exciting. So happy with the USA. Amazing. All those things. 550,000 views as of the day after it happened. 800 comments. For the women's Olympic gymnastics team, 80,000 views and about 71 comments. Now, like I said, gymnastics gets a lot of coverage, and it was real easy to watch them live and all those things like that. But it still shows you that when you do something big, even if people miss it the first time, because of the quick and easy way you can share highlights and things like that, that is actually really big for the game. So I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful that that helps. I think that if you run a girls' youth, especially youth, but high school program, now is the time to go out and say, come learn sevens. Come learn sevens this fall. If you're playing sevens in the fall, get it out there right now say you can be the next Spiff Cedric, or Ilona Maher, or Lev Kelter, or Nia Tapper, or Alina Olsen, right? Just about anybody. And if you don't play sevens, start playing sevens. Fake it. Say, all right, we've got our sevens out. Call up the other teams that play in the spring and say, you're not going to be doing anything this summer, this fall, whatever, and say, hey, look, let's do something right now. Let's do something in August. I mean, it can just be a showcase. Doesn't matter. Just, the iron's pretty hot right now. Hot enough that there's a financial aspect to it. And that's the other news that came out yesterday. Michelle Kang, who owns several soccer teams around the world and runs an organization that promotes football, I think in all its forms. I think it's spread out to all its forms. Women's football. Basically told the USA, you win a medal, I'm going to give you $1 million for the next 4 years. And that's what she's done. $1 million. Now, how big a deal is $1 million for the USA Sevens team? Well, it's not broken down really specifically. I can go and look through the numbers and maybe I'll come up with it and edit those into this video. But overall, the USA women's national teams have budgets about $2 to $3 million. USA Rugby's budget is like 13, maybe 15 million. 13 million is 2022, so 2023 might have been a little higher. 2024, maybe a little higher, stuff like that. U.S. Olympic Committee sends a chunk of that money in. Golden Eagles sends a chunk of money in. A lot of that goes to the men's team. The U.S. Women's Rugby Foundation gets some money that goes in. Donors, sponsors. USA Rugby sort of direct support, some World Rugby support. There's a bunch of stuff that goes in there. But $3 million for the women's national teams means that the sevens might be getting half that, maybe. Let's say they get $2 million, but they don't get $2 million. Let's say they get $1.5 million. Really, that's, and I'm just, it doesn't matter. We're spitballing because the point is to show you the significance of $1 million. Now increases, goes from like a 67% increase in budget to maybe doubling it. And what does that do? That allows maybe more players to be in residency. That's one. The players who are in residency to get paid more. So maybe they don't have to have second jobs. Or get nicer places to stay. Or maybe they're just waiting to get married. Or, start a family. Something like that. These are all issues that can come up, and yes, they're women's players, but they might be married to women. Those women might be having kids, okay, or adopting, whatever. There are all kinds of decisions along those lines. Or even buy a car, right? Or you could also be looking at developing your seven circuit team, and that's, I think, really huge because we are going to see retirements. We are going to see players move on. It is a young person's game in many ways, and I'll tell you what, if you want to just sift through the players in Belmont Shore and Majestics and one or two other places, you could fill out a pretty good development USA Sevens team. The skill level that was on display at the NAI Sevens, it was pretty astonishing. And if you pull those in, and some players from Atlantis, especially some of those from Nightmare in Pennsylvania, and Columbia Central, you got some talent there, right? So if you did that, what do you do with them? You've got to have them play. Now, does that mean you go to tournaments, Fiji, Canada, New Zealand, send them places? And that's what I think a large chunk of that budget should be. You should sit there and budget several $100,000 to not only develop your 2028 Olympic team, but your 2032 Olympic team. What a great time. I found myself being a fan. I'm not a rugby fan for the USA very often. I'm an analyst. I'm a reporter. Have to be dispassionate. Try not to get angry when they lose or too caught up with it when they win. I was a fan, and it was fun, and it's good. And maybe the big jump is happening. Certain jumps are happening. That's great. Maybe something bigger as well.